Alongside Srikar, Rajendran, I'm Ravi Kapur after Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and indeed the Oklahoma City Thunder did close it out on their home floor, 103-91, in an ending that was a little challenging, to say the least, because obviously about halfway through the first quarter, Tyrese Haliburton injured himself, and actually it was discovered he tore his Achilles, and that really put a somber tone on, I would say, at least as the game restarted, and obviously in the second half, the Thunder was able to pull it away because the talent gap was noticeable without Haliburton on the floor. But Srikar, let's not discredit the Thunder's victory. I mean, I think the Thunder was a worthy champion. They were just fantastic all season, and we got to give a lot of credit to the Pacers who played with a lot of heart. It's a real shame we missed out on what could have been a classic had Haliburton stayed on the court.
Yeah, we're going to give credit to the Thunder for sure. They did what they had to do to win. This was the best team in the NBA all season, and they definitely proved it throughout this whole 7-game series. But for the Pacers, it's actually really interesting because even after the Haliburton injury, you look at they're up 1 at the half. And this was all despite losing their best player due to injury. They couldn't hit free throws. They had to keep Nesmith out because he was in foul trouble early on. And they were still up at the half. This was a Pacers team that would not quit no matter what circumstances were thrown at them. And I think that's the resounding theme for this Pacers team throughout the whole season, throughout this playoff run. And we have to give both teams credit for an awesome series. Both of them gave it their all. But it is unfortunate that in this Game 7, you hate to see a player work their way up to a moment like this. Everyone dreams as an athlete of being in a Game 7, of being in a spot like this, and to just get robbed of the moment. It really sucks. It really does. And we obviously wish Tyrese Haliburton the best. We're going to keep him in our prayers as he recovers from this injury, and hopefully he'll be good to go. Hopefully it's a speedy recovery. We'll see when he comes back. But for both teams, for the Thunder, they did what they had to do to win. They came out in the second half. They got out of that shooting funk, and they were able to keep things rolling. And for the Pacers, obviously, it sucks, and this game could have been much different if Haliburton was indeed back in the game.
Yeah, I think much will be discussed in the days ahead about all the Achilles injuries we've seen, not just this year, but in the last few years. Obviously, going back to Kevin Durant getting hurt in the finals that changed that whole outcome against the Raptors. Certainly, Haliburton was the only guy that befell Achilles injury. Certainly, Dame Lillard, Jason Tatum are among the others. So, but that being said, we got to give kudos to SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. MVP of the regular season. He won, of course, the Conference Finals MVP, wins the MVP of the NBA Finals, and of course, we can't forget he won the scoring title. It's a really historic season for SGA, who was, in a sense, the key figure in the Paul George trade, if people remember that. But it's stunning how many other assets Oklahoma City received in addition to SGA. I mean, trading away an MVP, I'm sure the Clippers are going to be kicking themselves for years to come. But let's talk about his performance. Obviously, the shooting numbers overall for both teams are kind of poor, but he really did play well and hit clutch shots when the Thunder needed them.
He did. He's been doing it all year, and I think with this finals win, it cements him as a top 3 player in this league. When you look at the season he had, what he did for this Thunder team, delivering them their first ever NBA championship, it means a lot. It means a lot, and I think what he's been able to do this whole playoff run. He's been a model of consistency. Maybe one here or there have been off nights, but for the most part, he's always been there for the Thunder when they've needed him. I think Jalen Williams, if anything, he kind of went quiet in that first half, came back in the second half roaring. But for SGA, definitely deserving of that Finals MVP. You look at what he did this year with the scoring title, regular season MVP, Finals MVP. He really got the triple crown, and I think he totally deserved it. This guy, again, has cemented himself as potentially the face of the NBA and a top 3 player in this league for sure.
Great performance for SGA, and of course Jalen Williams. Certainly, I think it was his coming out party in this finals. Certainly a great compliment to SGA, and I don't want to forget Chet Holmgren, who really showed a lot of toughness. He's had some freak injuries early in his career, but incredibly skilled. And I went to a Warriors game a couple of years ago. Chet was a second-year player, really was his rookie year. And Andrew Wiggins hit a three-pointer. We all thought the Warriors were going to win this game with like 2 or 3 seconds left. And then Chet hit a big 3 to tie the game, and the Thunder won in overtime. And seeing that in person, thinking, my God, this guy, if he put it all together, he's a really unique talent. And certainly on the defensive side of the floor, I mean, he had a ton of blocks. He's just in people's faces and then be able to knock down long jumpers. I mean, he is a really unique star.
And honestly, he hasn't really put it all together yet, which is a scary thought that he's this good. And I still think he needs to work on a jumper. If he can get a jumper, I mean, this guy's already an elite rim protector. He's so good on defense. He uses his length to his advantage. If he combines that with the offense, I mean, he is going to be a force. He's going to be an absolute force. So for him to win a ring early on in his career is great, but I still don't think this is the full potential of what Chet Holmgren can bring to the table. And I'm excited to see how he develops over the offseason. I mean, this is a guy, obviously, you look at what his ceiling could be. You look at a guy like Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs, and you look at him with Chet Holmgren side by side. It could be like a dead-on comparison right there. And I'm really excited to see what type of improvements he makes over the offseason, because this guy has got it. He's really got it, especially just guarding around the rim on defense. This whole entire Thunder team was playing excellent defense in that second half. I think he's really got it. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Well, we saw the Western Conference just completely loaded, and we saw the East now in flux. You don't know the status of the Bucks in light of Dame's injury. The Celtics may have to recalibrate, of course, with Tatum down. And then, of course, now Haliburton and the Pacers. Here you were thinking another emerging squad, and they may have to reassess what they do next year and beyond. And then, of course, right ahead of the finals, it was announced that Kevin Durant is getting traded to the Rockets. So, I mean, the offseason has already begun. And, I mean, it wasn't even done yet with that Game 7, but we got this big trade, and Durant will head to Houston, and another stop from one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I mean, Durant is just a unique talent. I think a huge help and a huge lift for Houston as they now try to compete with Oklahoma City. Just briefly, tell me about your prospects for next year. Certainly, I think Oklahoma City and the Rockets will be huge favorites. We saw, the Warriors with Steph and Jimmy Butler when healthy. Really, I thought were great, but of course they are basically mid to late 30s. That is not great typically in this game, but you never know if they try to pick up another big man. I surely think they need another body to play the 5. And then, of course, you got the Lakers, you got the Mavs coming back with hopefully Kyrie getting healthy. I mean, so much talent in the West. It's really hard to fathom.
Yeah, I think the Rockets are much more of a serious contender now with KD, and obviously part of that deal was shipping out Jalen Green, which I think if there was any player on the Rockets that was expendable in that case, I think it was Jalen Green. So sending him over to the Suns, where the Suns now have, they have a backcourt of Booker, Green, and Beal. So I don't know how they're going to maneuver around that. Maybe they trade Jalen Green, but I think there are 3 clear-cut teams in the West that I could see winning the title, and I think that's the Thunder repeating. I think it could be the Warriors with Steph, and it could be the Rockets. I think it all depends on what happens this offseason. It depends on who makes the right moves. I think it's the same thing in the East, because now if you're an East team, especially if I'm like the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm looking at this whole playoffs, and I'm like, okay, the Celtics are not going to have Tatum for next season. The Pacers are not going to have Haliburton for next season. We have to dominate this offseason, because that's the path has never been more wide open for the Cavs to go to the finals. So I think whoever in the East ends up winning this offseason, I think they are going to stake their claim to, being that favorite in the East, because now we're seeing vulnerability. We're seeing vulnerability from the top dogs in this year's playoffs, and I think that spells trouble for the East. But I think if I had to pick one team to come out of the Eastern Conference, it's going to be the Cavs. And if I had to pick one team out of the West, I think as of right now, I'd still pick the Thunder, because this is still a young team. It's still a developing team, which is scary to think about. So going into next year, I think they could end up defending their title. But obviously, watch out for the Rockets with KD, because that is a good starting 5 right there.
And you did hear SGA after the game say that they think they can win even more games. And this is, again, one heck of a season from start to finish. So you would imagine they are going to mature. I mean, SGA is in his prime, but he still has a few more years left. And certainly Chet and Jalen Williams are not in their prime yet. I think they're just going to get better. And their ceilings are incredible. So there's no question the Thunder should be the favorites. And we'll see who recalibrates. And I was a little surprised Miami does not like to be at the bottom of the league. They certainly struggled. I thought they would make a harder push for Kevin Durant, given that, one key piece could actually put them, the top slot in the East, given what's happened to both the Pacers and the Celtics. But we'll see. It's still early on in the offseason, and I know people are already talking about what moves are going to be made, but I think we'll both be really intrigued. It was a tremendous finals, and certainly a lot of folks enjoyed the conclusion, despite despite the injury. I think we'll all remember the Haliburton injury. It's just really tough. It could have been a real classic otherwise, but great series nonetheless.
100%. And I was also thinking on the note of KD, Minnesota could have been a team that really made a push, because I think there were some rumors earlier on about Minnesota looking at KD. If they added KD to play with Anthony Edwards, that would have been a contender in the West as well. But yes, on the note of the actual finals, it does kind of suck that Haliburton had to get injured in this Game 7. But when we look at the playoffs as a whole, this was a great playoffs. I mean, you had game winners left and right. You had close games. You had nail biters. You had great matchups. I mean, I look back at that Celtics-Knicks matchup, and that was a huge one. I was in New York for that one, and being surrounded by Knicks and Celtics fans alike, the energy was really different. So seeing all these matchups go through, I think it was a great playoffs. Obviously, the ending was a little bit sour, but it is what it is. Injuries are going to happen in the game, and when we look at the finals as a whole, when we look at the entire playoffs, I don't think you could be mad as a Hoops fan. I think it was great.
My one sleeper will be the Mavericks. Cooper Flag, likely their pick. Kyrie comes back halfway through. They still have Klay Thompson on the roster and Anthony Davis. That squad is pretty loaded. So don't be surprised if Dallas is in the mix. So for Srikar, Rajendran, I'm Ravi Kapur. Thanks for joining us for this series. Srikar, a pleasure to have you, as always, with your insight, and certainly great NBA season. Glad you were joining us here for this really interesting NBA Finals.